Hello and welcome to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. At the end of the first set of matches, and I say that because all 10 teams have played it, India has just emerged victorious against Australia. It's worthy of celebration. It's exciting, but it's also pretty scrappy and not the best way of getting there. I'm joined by DJ. DJ, you did a preview before it started with Varun. How are you feeling, man? Finished? It's been a mixed emotion day, and I think the curve of being an India fan has always went from, oh my gosh, this team is amazing, we're going to win the World Cup, to these guys suck, we're never going to win anything, back to, okay, yeah, we're pretty good. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster being an Indian cricket fan, but it was kind of cathartic watching the last World Cup match India played in India, finished with a wicketkeeper batter batting at 5, hitting a ball for 6.
Dude, it took you less than 60 seconds to bring up Dhoni this time. I think 42 seconds is the count till you brought up Dhoni this time.
And this time you had another wicketkeeper batter batting at 5,
Yeah.
hitting the ball for 6, ending in the 90s, not out. I mean, I can't think of a better way to start Cricket World Cup 2023 off. We
Let
did
me,
pick up where we left off with
yeah,
the bat in the top order, but the middle order more than made up for it, right? So what a
two
game.
for three. Let me go backwards. And of course, thanks for joining the Edges and Slightest Cricket Podcast. We'll talk in the second half about some of the other shows of the other matches of the week. But of course, we have to start with India Australia. And I want to actually talk about the last ball before we get into the rest of it. Right, 8 runs to win. Sorry, how many?
5 to win. It's 5 to
195
win.
runs to win. KL Rahul is on 91. So he's done the math. He says, okay, I can get a 4, get to 95, 1 run to win, and hit a 6 to get to 101. And Pat Cummins runs in. He hits this kind of beautiful extra shot over extra cover, expecting 4, and it went for 6. And you have this bizarre moment where India, in front of a full stadium at Chennai, has just been batted to victory after being 2 for 3. And Rahul kind of sinks to his knees a little, being like, shit, what the hell happened? And listen, you could have a long debate about individual milestones versus team, and I don't think he actually meant anything beyond it. But what an odd moment to mistakenly hit a 6 when you were going for a 4. I mean, how ridiculous is that, right?
Yeah, and he said he hit it too well, right? And I mean, fair game. And I mean, it would have been a magnificent 100, but a 97 not out is not something to be scoffed at in the circumstances, right? He needed to hit a 4 and then hit another, and then hit a 6. He just went in the wrong order by timing the ball too well. I mean, it takes nothing away from the value of that innings. I'm sure he'll get more World Cup hundreds. His place was in question before this game. Iyer was the best number 4. He only got injured in the Asia Cup, came and scored that magnificent 100 against Pakistan. There's so much background to it. He
Yeah.
also, we'll talk about his keeping, but he also kept for 50 overs in that intense heat. And he was out batting in the third over.
Mhm.
So there's so much going for that innings. It was just, I mean, quite cathartic for KL Rahul fans. And we haven't been KL Rahul fans on the show all the time. Varun,
Yeah.
I think, backed him as the player of the tournament or something this time. So kudos to him. Although Varun picked Iyer to score the runs today. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The beauty of predictions is you're always going to be right sometime, or you're sometimes going to be right. You're never going to always be right. So anyway, DJ, let's run through the match really quick. I'll do a quick rundown and then we can start double clicking, right? But if you look at it on paper, a little bit of a bizarre, Mitchell Marsh, of course, my fantasy vice captain today, and we'll do a fantasy kind of update at the end. But rough day. Duck in the first over, or in the third over, excuse me, out to Bumrah, and then Smith and Warner put on a decent partnership. Got to 74 before Warner got out. Very scrappy, very tough cricket to bat on. But the quick rundown: 199, only good runs coming off of Smith and Warner. 199 all out. 3 wickets for Jaddu, 2 for Kuldeep, 1 for Ash, who made it in, and we'll talk about selections. And then in return, Ishan Kishan, Rohit Sharma, Shreyas Iyer, in the span of 9 balls, all got out for Ducks. And it was 2 for 3, I think, before there was a single run scored off the bat. And DJ, and obviously we've celebrated KL Rahul 201, chased it down in 41 overs. But let's start with the first innings. I want to talk about the 2 for 3. I really do, but I also want to talk. Let's talk about the first innings, right? How good was India's spin trio, right? 30 overs of spin. Like, just how good was it? And this was Chepak, and or the Chidambaram, right? you know that it's going to happen. But how good was that bowling performance by Team India?
I mean, magnificent, right? And we, when we did the post-match build-up show, Varun and I both called the team, including three spinners, because Chennai is known to take spin. I mean, I think Pakistan have even protested about playing Afghanistan, which has one of the better spin attacks at Chennai. And when you saw that pitch, everybody just said the spinners are licking their lips here. I think DK tweeted saying Jadeja is going to be the guy here, but the tone was actually set by the quicks, right? And you saw Bumrah steaming and finding the perfect length, getting Mitch Marsh caught behind, Kohli taking a magnificent catch. And then there was this huge partnership, well, huge in the context of the Australian innings. Warner and Smith got together, probably their two of their better batters against spin. And then Kuldeep broke that partnership with beautiful like guile and like tossing up the ball, and it was great. And then came the spell that broke the back of that innings, right? And that was Jadeja. Now he's quicker than the other two. He's quicker than Ashwin. He's quicker than Kuldeep as well. And his ball to bowl Smith, I think he's bowled that ball to Smith before as well
Yeah,
in a test match.
exactly the same ball. Exactly that. I was just, and Smith's reaction was just, it was just perfect. Just perfection.
Magnificent. And then Alex Carey gone. But Ashwin, sorry, we haven't talked about the decision to bat first from Australia, right? They won the toss.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a perfectly good decision to bat first because 250, 260 plus on that track, when we saw the spinners come on, seemed like a pretty good, uh, would have been a pretty good score. So, what did he make of that decision?
I mean, even with 199 to defend at 2 for 3, you're thinking we made the right call. I think there's two things, right? One is the decision when you win the toss to play the pitch versus play the opposition. And I think, and of course, he ended up being the second best today. But I think in India against Virat Kohli, it is always a risk. It's just always a risk to let him chase, right? He's say what you will about his form the last few years, on and off. Even the fact that he didn't see the team over the line today. He got out to what looked like a magnificent pull shot, actually. And but still, when you're playing against Virat Kohli, it's always a risk to let him chase. Having said that, I agree, man. 240 even would have been something they looked really good defending. I think that psychologically not getting past 200 was one part of it. And then, yeah, they were 40, 50 short. They were not more short by more than that. And that's where you have to give full credit to the 30 overs of spin that just choked them up. I mean,
Yeah.
they just got no real runs. Kuldeep went for a couple boundaries. But other than that, Jadeja 3 for 28, Ash 1 for 34, Kuldeep 2 for 42. I mean, nothing. They gave away nothing.
Yeah, and Kuldeep only had like a couple of streaky boundaries towards the end as well, which went off between slip and keeper and
Yeah.
stuff. It was just magnificent. What did he make of Ashwin, right? Like, I don't know what, by the way, I have no idea. And we spoke about this last week as well. What is going on with Lakshman Shivaramakrishnan? Is his Twitter account hacked? Or is he
Wait,
just trying to
did
stay
more
relevant?
happen since last week?
There's more. He's saying he's a liability fielder. He's I don't know. I hope his Twitter account is hacked because he's just on some kind of weird rant like selfish stats player, liability fielder. ये वो पता नहीं
Yeah.
क्या.
I mean, listen, I will say fielding as a whole, not ignoring SRK, but fielding as a whole was fantastic today. And we've had some outings recently where the fielding was not good, but absolutely outstanding. Great catching, great fielding, just clinical. And that's what puts the chokehold on a team like Australia, who is five-time champions, still early in the tournament, long way to go. But yeah, if you need to strangle them at Chepauk with 30 overs being bowled on spin, you have to be tight. And the fielding showed up today.
Yeah, and talking about fielding, I mean, the Labuschagne catch that KL Rahul took, and you didn't notice Rahul behind the stumps today, which is it's fantastic on a pitch that was turning that much. Rahul, I thought, kept really, really well. Like he took the Labuschagne top edge. There were others that were turning. It was truly a testament both to his skill and his improvement as a keeper that you didn't really feel like there was going to be a drop.
Yeah, there was one edge off of Kuldeep, but the ball came kind of in to the right hander, and so Rahul started moving in, and it just took the thinnest edge. I couldn't remember who the batter was, and so there was maybe one where I gave, you know, but I think that there's a choice been made, and there's a choice been made to back this guy who can bat at 5 and has shown that he can be one of the best number 5 batters in the world, and yet keep for 50 overs. So full credit to India with the ball. Zero feedback there. Talk to me about Hardik Pandya. What what's going on there in the field? He ended up only bowling 3 overs. What do you think?
He was a little bit floaty. I think he wasn't hitting the deck like he usually does. He got hit for three fours. He got taken off pretty quickly, actually, to be honest. So
Yeah,
it was okay. And he had a injury on his finger.
yeah. What exactly
So
happened? That was probably right
so
before.
Warner drove the ball back. It was kind of a catch, half
Hmm.
stop. He didn't really go for it, so it hit the end of his right hand,
Yeah,
which is his bowling hand, and so you can't actually put anything on it when you're bowling. So he couldn't have taped it up or put bandage on it to
yeah,
bowl. So I think he only bowled two. Luckily, we didn't need anybody to
yeah,
really fill in. So um, Rohit also, I think, recognized pretty quickly that they're going to target Pandya because he's not as quick as the others, probably not as skillful as the others with the ball. And you didn't need to bowl him at that point. So he took him off pretty quickly after he brought him on. He only bowled 2 overs for 21, I think. Also, the pitch. I mean, like Simon Hughes, the analyst, called it rubbish and supported Australia to win against India. And I'm just
yeah,
like, it's the ICC that's prepared the pitches. It's a curator from them. Like, it's an independent curator. India has nothing to do with this. But you're like, the pitch didn't really support his kind of bowling, which I think is hit the deck and try and hustle the batter out. And you had class spinners, so why would you need to go to Pandya? So I'm sure he'll play a role later, and they would probably wanted to just give him a bit of a rest with his finger as well.
yeah. So 199. I mean, not not subpar, no question, but also not any India like at the innings mark. Of course, when my game started at 3:30 a.m. for me, so the innings break is a good chance for me to take a nice nap. I took a nap, very peaceful. No stress on my mind. Thinking we should chase down 200. Starting to think about net run rate as the outcome, and then fourth ball, Ishan Kishan perishes. Ninth ball, I think it was, Rohit Sharma perishes, and the 12th ball of the innings, Shreyas Iyer perishes. DJ, what is going through your mind at 2 for 3? And by the way, I will say, I don't know if this happened with you. My phone blew up at 2 for 3. Right? People who I wasn't talking about in the first innings. And it's a little symptomatic of the fact that when we have Australia on the ropes at 199 all out, India fans aren't quite blowing up and saying, yes, look at us. But when we're 2 for 3, everybody's voices just get that little bit louder. Did that happen with you too? Is that a fair assessment?
Uh,
I mean, you got
I'm
more
more.
active on Twitter at 2 for 3
I'm
than
on
you were in the
Twitter.
first innings.
I'm on Twitter, so I don't follow like stuff on WhatsApp as much, I guess. See, listen, the reality bit is the ball was swinging,
Yeah.
and the ball that got Kishan was a rubbish ball. It was outside off stump. He should have hit it for four.
Just a
He
big
just nicked it,
swing.
and they
Yeah.
took a catch. Fine,
Yep.
swung a little bit, unlucky. Rohit, I'm not making excuses here, but
Sure.
Rohit, the ball literally clipped the top of the leg bail, and okay, he was given out, but equally could have been given not out, and he would have been there, could have stayed with umpire's call.
Sure.
The ball was moving around, and there'll be lots of decisions that Rohit is will get away with that kind of thing. Right. He also failed to beat Warner to become the fastest to 1,000 runs. If he'd scored 22 runs, I think in this innings he would have got there faster than Warner. He'll
A
now equal Warner
thousand
if he
what?
gets
World
24
Cup runs.
World Cup runs.
Okay.
Rohit. And then the IR shot, I think that left a lot to be desired. So tell me what you made of that shot. Was he just trying to transfer pressure or
Yeah, I
what?
think it was an intent thing, right? And now you can sit back and say intent and strike rate and all of this strike rate is overrated thing. And I will come. It's very easy in hindsight, so just ignore me if you will. But I will be the first to say when you're chasing 250 over match, you win with boring cricket. Period. You win with boring cricket. If you're chasing 425 on a belter of a pitch, small boundaries, you have to adapt your game. We won this match because Virat and KL played boring cricket, and I mean that in the absolute best way. Right? They played smart cricket. They took singles. They rotated strikes. They took singles and doubles. It's not fun for a new fan. It's not fun for a T20 fan to do that. But gosh, by playing the quote unquote boring cricket, we got it done. And Shreyas didn't do that. Now, easy to sit here and blame him after Rohit and Kishan both got out. But at 2 for 2, do you need to be hitting that shot? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You saw Virat come in early, defended. I think he was like 2 or 3 runs of his first 12, 15 balls. Got his eye in, started taking singles, then started converting the singles to doubles, and then started freeing up his arms. And that's why he is the king of the chase. And Rahul did the same today. He doesn't always, but he did the same today. He built he built his innings, and Shreyas just didn't do that. Am I ready to say Shreyas shouldn't play in the next match? Absolutely not. I think we'll pick between him and Sky based on pitch, boundaries, etc. I think we were initially saying him, Kishan, Sky, and Rahul are fighting for two spots. Obviously, Rahul has cemented his spot, and Kishan will play for Gill for now. So I think it's really between him and Sky, and he didn't he didn't break the door down, as they call it today.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do anything. So, um, disappointing result for him, I guess. It would have been his chance to really score 100 recently as well. But with the world watching in a World Cup match in a chase against Australia, probably quite a good time to put down a marker saying you're the number four, and particularly since the other candidate for that middle order spot has also scored a first ball duck, which is Ishan Kishan, right? Because the question actually is when Gill comes back, which
Yeah,
he will come back and occupy the top order spot, do you play Kishan in that middle order or do you play Iyer in that middle order? And I
yeah.
suspect Kishan's left handedness will take him across, but this was Iyer's chance to say, you may be left handed, but I've got more runs. But they've got the exact same number of runs, and Kishan didn't even waste that many balls. So,
There you go. There you go. So Kishan will be. That's how he's going to be making his argument to Captain Rohit tonight.
yeah,
Although
and the
although
point
they
you
both
made
scored
about
the same
boring
amount as
cricket,
the captain, right? So
yeah, and the boring cricket point you made is Rahul after the game, apart from the 106 whatever chat that was going on, said that when he got to the pitch, Kohli said play Test cricket for the next few overs. He literally told him that. So you've obviously picked up on that as well,
yeah.
because they played proper cricket, and some of those drives were like Test cricket drives that Rahul pulled out.
So I'm giving all the credit, but before we continue in the celebratory tone, it could have been a very different story, as Virat hit. I want to say was playing boring cricket for the most part, but had this one lapse a little, hit the ball. I think it was Hazelwood, and he
Hazelwood,
hits
yeah.
it a little bit late and just goes for this. The only thing I can call it is like a hoik, and gets the sort of toe end of the bat, goes up in the air, 15 meters high. I know this because they did all the post analytics on the curve of the ball and all that. And Mitchell Marsh comes running
Uh,
from mid wicket. Alex Carey with the gloves comes running from obviously behind the wicket. And I couldn't tell if they were calling for it or what, but basically Marsh ended up going for it. Carey pulled away. There was no collision, but you could tell there was fear of collision. I mean, Marsh didn't even get his hands to it. It sort of dropped between his arms and his body. And after making a duck, that was arguably the moment that changed the match. Because it's hard to say on a pitch like this. Rahul played brilliantly, but you needed two guys, and it's really hard to say if Hardik and Jadeja would have done it. Obviously, it's a hypothetical, but you have to believe that changed the match. I hope. Do you think Virat said you've just
it's
dropped the opener of the World Cup, mate?
don't know. He's quite capable of it though. Uh, but there was so much trauma ongoing, right, from past World Cups. Like we've been talking 15 for 3. In the last World Cup, we were 5 for 3. This time we were 2 for 3, and we were all like, "Chalo, at least it's not going to happen in the knockout of the semi-final. We're getting this rubbish out of the way right now." So basically, it was like old World Cups and knockout games and ICC trophies trauma that Indian fans were collectively feeling at that point. And then when that ball went up, Ashwin, I have to say, like, it took me back to when I was 17 years old. And Sachin Tendulkar pulls the ball straight up in the first over of the World Cup final chase against Australia, and Glenn McGrath just pouches it. Because it
Yep.
feels like it was
Yep.
the exact same moment. But then, and this is why I love Twitter, everyone reminded us that this is exactly how Kohli got out against Mitchell Johnson in 2015 in the semi final of the World Cup.
Dude. Oh my gosh. Just
And
yeah.
so it
Yeah.
was just, and those are the margins that you need to go in your favor to win big tournaments, right? And they didn't really give them a chance. Yes, Kohli got out in 85, but he was probably exhausted. The other thing we did really well at that point, we should talk about, is running between the wickets. A lot of pressure, but that moment, Ashwin, was for me, it was the 20 for 4 is where you would have been. And the New Zealand semi final, we were 25 for 4.
This is too
Right? So
much.
this
Yeah.
it would have it would have brought back memories that every Indian fan and probably every Indian player more than an Indian fan is tried
Mhm.
to bury, right? Because a lot of that top order is the same. Because you've got Rohit Kohli, you've got Rahul. DK was funnily enough in the commentary box, and he was a fourth wicket that went down in the
Mhm.
semi-final. And it was just, but then that absorbing of that pressure. Yeah, you've got to put out of your mind as well, right? You're King Kohli. You're the guy who's got to do the chase. Fine, you get a chance, but you can't give a player like that a chance.
Yeah.
And oh man, if there was a moment that turned it, that was it. And I feel bad for Mitch Marsh because everyone has dropped catches, right? Everyone scored a duck,
Sure. Yeah.
and but your contribution that day is basically like
Negative.
negative.
Yeah, it's for
That's
sure
not a good
negative.
feeling. That is not a good feeling. So you do feel bad for him. He'll bounce back. He's a good cricketer.
Yeah.
But I think he's admitted to like having mental health issues in the past about like Australia hating him and stuff, and him having to get past that. I hope he doesn't get abuse from Australian fans because it was an easy catch,
Yeah. I
but
don't
it
actually don't
happens.
even think it was his catch, right? I think the issue was the decision making. I think the issue was, and you have to give someone the blame to carry like an MS in that situation. Now I'll bring him up.
Yes.
Would
By the
have
way, have you seen the? Can you see the poster in the back?
no. I can only see your small visual, but on YouTube, I'm
But
sure.
I
Oh
think
yeah, I
most
can
of
see it now.
the
I can see it, dude. Look at that. That's
yeah.
great.
So that's I've managed to get the MS finishes it off in style. Dhoni finishes it off in style
There you go.
poster.
Like my point is, Dhoni would have like put his arms out and loudly claim mine, right, and run towards it and got it. Now maybe Carey did that. Maybe March couldn't hear in a full stadium. You know we don't have all the context, but you have to believe that was kind of a game changing moment. Yeah, DJ. Before we wrap, and we'll talk in the second half about a few other things what have been going on with the World Cup and some of the other matches. I realized 400 runs was scored today in 91.5 or whatever overs. 90, almost 92 overs. India then flies to Delhi next to take on Afghanistan, where 756 runs, 754, I have to do math on the fly, were scored. 428 by South Africa, 326 by Sri Lanka. I mean, does India pivot or change? That's a massive switch, right? From 199 being tough to chase to 420, 320 being made by both sides. What is your thinking on India's approach going to Delhi?
Yeah, unbelievable, right? I mean, like it felt like you were watching a game from the 1996 World Cup, which was
Hmm.
last held in India. You had three spinners playing for India. Australia was scoring at 4 runs and over. It was and Australia were like looking like they were going to win the game after getting no runs on the board. But uh, see, India plays every game at a different ground, and so the whole home advantage thing
Yeah,
isn't really a point to be made. Like the pitches are going to be different in all of these places. South Africa like took apart the New Zealand,
Sri
the
Lanka.
Sri
Yeah,
Lankan guys,
yeah.
and Sri Lanka did pretty well to get back with 300 plus. Delhi's a pretty small ground. Delhi hasn't historically been a very high scoring ground
Hmm.
because it used to take spin, but I don't know what kind of pitch is going to be given to them because apparently this pitch as well was the only one in the square which was like a turning pitch. Because remember, Chennai has red soil
Hmm.
and black soil. I don't know
Hmm.
which one they picked here, but clearly was breaking up. Um, they've got the goods for it. You saw the 356 against Pakistan. They made a bit of a fist of chasing 300 plus against Australia last time as well. We've definitely got the batters for it. And Afghanistan, uh, the question is if we get a spinning track against Afghanistan, they've got probably, I would actually say, probably the best spin attack at par with India.
I was going to say, are you saying better than Ash, Kuldeep, and Jadeja? I mean,
No,
Rashid, Mujib, Noor,
Rashid
like, yeah,
Mujib, they
yeah,
they Noor. I mean, they are
yeah,
at probably at par. They've got yeah.
maybe better.
So
Yeah.
it could be a little bit of a banana peel if it's a turning track. Equally, if you get a big scoring game or a high scoring game with a flat track, I mean, I think India's got enough to take Afghanistan down.
I think ultimately we have to be able to sit here and say round one of the matches of the World Cup have just wrapped up. Yes, we have the not a great net run rate, but India picked up two critical points against five-time world champions. And so while there's a lot of soul searching, a lot of analysis, a lot of assessment to do, big 2 points. I think As
Yeah,
you think about the
absolutely.
big matches, they're going to be Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Pakistan, England, right? You'd back India to kind of win, hopefully, the rest of them on paper. And Australia is a big check mark to get. So, congratulations. Exciting for Team India. 2 big points. Lots more to come. We're going to take a really quick break. We'll come back, talk some of the other things surrounding the overall World Cup and the other matches. But if you haven't yet and you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. DJ just likes doing that. So we'll keep doing it every week. This is the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're watching us on YouTube, as always, we didn't go anywhere. But if you're listening to us, took a little bit of a break. DJ, we're going to talk quickly the other 4 matches. Of course, this is the right ratio, right? Spend half your episode talking about India and half about 4 other games. I feel like that's what people tune in for. But let me start by asking, the opener of the tournament was England versus New Zealand in front of, air quotes, a sold out
Oh man,
stadium
we
in
haven't even talked
Ahmedabad.
tickets.
And so let me just ask you about what it was bizarre, right? It was bizarre. It started, I guess it was 2 p.m. on a weekday. So first off, scheduling decision, starting with, yes, the repeat of the final in 2019, but you picked a weekday afternoon in fairly hot conditions with 2 non-home sides playing. And anyway, the stadium has a capacity of over 100,000, I think. 47,000 was the official attendance number. My screen, it didn't look like actually that many showed up. So unless a lot were coming and going and scanning their ticket, I don't know how they got to that number, but it's a bit of a fiasco, right?
It's a shambles. It's an absolute shambles. I mean, this Varun and I spoke this morning on a build-up about how 14,000 tickets had been released for the Pakistan game. Again, 1 week
Where
out.
did they come from?
Why are we releasing tickets 1 week out from? I mean, you and I, we could have potentially thought about traveling to India. I want to
Yeah.
come back last week.
We were at the 2019 World Cup,
Yeah,
right in
and
England.
I went to Australia to watch the
Yeah,
T20 World Cup. I watched India
yeah,
Pakistan there at the MCG. It was planned a year in advance.
yeah. And we will probably
This
be
is
at the 2024 T20 World Cup because
yeah,
they've just announced Dallas,
yeah,
Miami, New York as 3
yeah,
locations, and it's going to be great for me. But
and
anyway,
it's absolute shambles. In fact, Chepok apparently today's game as well. There was it was 33,000 or so, and and you could see empty seats. Like it looked like there were Australian supporters because the seats are yellow, but they were just empty seats. And
yeah.
this is a ground where Ashwin CSK games are sold out on a random weekday afternoon in the middle of summer,
Mhm.
and you can't fill the ground with Indian spectators on a Sunday against a 5-time world champion
India
team.
versus Australia. I mean, you're claiming border
It is
Gavaskar has become the
it is
biggest.
disgusting
Yeah,
what is going on.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, this is just unacceptable organization, and I think we should go as far as having a review into this, and India should not be allowed to host events without it being properly organized.
Wow,
The
it's
facilities
big.
at the stadium were good apparently, so
Yeah,
that's local level.
sure.
But to have this kind of organization on scheduling, on it's completely it's unprofessional. You are the biggest board in the world with the most amount of money. Yes, it's organized by the ICC, but how can you let ticketing be such a ridiculous situation? It's absurd. Like, how can you? They were selling tickets in black apparently outside up to an hour before the game, and but nobody
Yeah,
can get their hands on a ticket because it's all
mhm.
either I don't know. It's given to corporates or it's given to like uh, somebody is getting these tickets. I don't know. You know how ticketing works in India.
Yeah,
It's very little for the general public. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, I don't know. I
it's
don't have a lot to add. It's just
shocking.
this. It's just disappointing. It's upsetting, and
Yeah,
that
sorry.
leaves a.
Back to the England New Zealand
Well,
game.
before we
I've
get
had
to
my
that,
rant.
there's probably one seat that's now going to be empty for whatever remaining games that this person had got a ticket for. But officially, our boy Jarvo has been banned from all future World Cup games. I think it is, or from
I
all
mean,
cricket, or all World Cup games. I mean, what's happening? How do you walk
how
on
is
the
he
pitch again?
He was wearing an Indian jersey and he was next to the players. He has a picture with Kohli.
It's actually brilliant. You got to give it to him, man.
Dude, I mean, how there are Pakistani journalists and stuff saying, "Boss, I couldn't get a visa to go cover the World Cup. This guy's hanging out with Kohli."
Yeah, unbelievable.
But it's actually a security thing more than anything else, right? It's
Yeah,
pretty scary. If I was a player, I would be quite annoyed
yeah,
by the
yeah.
security allowing this to happen.
Totally agree. All right. Now let's talk about some of the cricket. We're back to England, New Zealand. I mean, England was at least on all three of ours, was basically everybody's favorite to at least make the semis, many people's favorite to win the entire tournament. What is your take, DJ? I mean, 282 for 9 at Ahmedabad. Not a bad score on paper. Fun fact, the first time in ODI history, men's or women's, that all 11 batters have gotten to double digits. Can you believe that? I was blown away that it's the first time, but it makes sense, right? With the tail, if the tail is playing a bigger role, somebody up the top got out for less than 10. Anyway, that was a fun fact I saw on Twitter X. But 282. Let's talk about this young Rahul Sachin fusion,
Rachin.
Rachin Ravindra, and of course Devon Conway, who's arguably one of the best batters all three formats in the world right now.
Yeah.
I mean, 152 and 123 after losing their first wicket for a duck. How brilliant was that, Chase? 283. I mean, it
Super.
was absolute. I don't know what your friends in local friends in London and in England in general is saying, but absolutely brilliant from Team New Zealand to
Yeah.
just chasing down 283 in 36 overs. Just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah. And which is why you can't not count these guys in your semi-final lineup. They are just a tournament team.
I
They're
had him in
just
my. I
getting
don't think you
together.
had him in yourself.
I had them.
Oh, you did. Varun didn't. That means.
Yeah, I have them. I've got Pakistan though instead of Australia, and that may not be the worst shout in the world at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
But I mean, fantastic. And Rachin, I
Right.
saw the best tweet about Rachin was actually like, "What happens when he gets to 194 not out?
Oof.
Does he spontaneously combust?"
That's amazing.
Because
One.
obviously, for our listeners who don't know, he's named after Rahul Dravid and
Yeah.
Sachin Tendulkar, and there was
So
that famous declaration of 194 not out, right?
194. He bowled 10 overs too. Let's give credit for that,
Yep.
by the way.
But he got tonked, no?
He
He
got
got
donked,
quite a
but
few.
still bowled 10 over. Like you're talking about Rahul keeping 50 overs and then batting. You got to give credit to a guy who could bowl 10 and open.
Mm.
Just unbelievable.
And
Here's a,
Kane Williamson didn't even play. That's why he got a shot to do it, I
yeah,
guess, right?
yeah,
Like otherwise, Kane would
yeah.
have taken a
He batted
spot.
3. You're right. Here's my other
Yeah.
question for you. And maybe they promote him and will Young lose his spot? I don't actually know what's going to happen. But here's my really important question. If you're listening on YouTube, I'm curious. Can we make a World Cup 11 out of Desi or South Asian guys not playing for a South Asian country? I'm
Like Ravi
thinking
Bopara.
I'm talking about current, just playing now. If you include X, there's a lot. I'm
Okay.
saying you have Vikramjit Singh from Netherlands.
Okay.
Rachin can
Opener.
open
Yeah.
with him. Then you have also Netherlands Teja, whatever that guy's name is, Nida Maru. Then you have like
Mark है उसके पास?
हाँ, बस यही episode था. Then you have the Moin, Rashid, Adil Rashid. Then you have Ish Sodhi. It's not a bad side, dude. It's a pretty good side. And then
Yeah.
Keshav Maharaj. It's a pretty good squad.
Origin, yeah.
Indian origin,
South Asian
South Asian
origin. Yeah.
origin. Anyway,
Yeah.
unnecessary tangent. Kudos to Team New
Yeah.
Zealand. Big win. And England, again, early man, 9 matches. England won't be too stressed, but I think the bowling left a lot to be desired in this game.
Yeah, I
From
call
there,
that weakness for
yeah,
them.
from there, by the way, went to Hyderabad. Pakistan, 286 all out. Babar doesn't make runs. Shocker. I'm not going to talk about
Bus.
that too much. Um, yeah, 4 wickets for Tim Delhide's son, who you mentioned in the preview, actually. As was he your X factor? He may have been your X factor.
Bus delete.
Bastil leader, 4 for 62. And then, dude, Max O'Dowd got out a little bit early, but for a while there were 110, 120 out for 2. Vikramjit Singh made a 50, Bastil leader made a 50. It looked like the Netherlands were going to do it. It just did. And then, unfortunately, 120 for 3 down to 176 for 8. That is the inexperience. That is the being a smaller team outside the top 6 showing. I mean, got to
Yeah,
give credit.
it's exactly what I said. You
Yeah.
get yourself into the position,
Yeah.
and then you can't have you don't kill the game off. You
Because it
don't
just
have that
it
last
looked like
instinct.
they could. It really looked
Yeah,
like they could, and they just couldn't close it out. But a good start. I mean,
competing. Yeah,
they'll take a lot of positives away from that, right?
yeah. They're playing New Zealand next, so
Yeah,
they will
that'll be a
be
big
keen
match.
to give a good account of
I think
themselves.
it's tomorrow actually. Yeah, big match. Kudos to Pakistanis too. I mean, didn't show up with the bat entirely. You got to say 280 plus is a decent score any day against the Netherlands, especially. But when even with the backs against a wall in the chase, the bowlers showed up, and you have to give
Yeah,
full credit there as well.
and Saul Shakil got runs. as well for Pakistan, who
Very, very
said
important.
he was a good guy.
Very important.
But the what is actually they were in Hyderabad, right? I'm actually looking forward to Siraj bowling to them next week
Yes,
to
dude.
Pakistan.
That's gonna be so good.
But you know why, right?
Why?
There's been all this chatter about how Karachi biryani is better than Hyderabadi
Oh,
biryani.
the biryani wars, dude.
And Siraj is from Hyderabad.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna be gunning for that. I hope he like takes a wicket and does like a eating like a biryani celebration. Just
Dude. Where that would be just brilliant. We don't have anybody from Lucknow in the 11 right now. Nobody from Bengal either, actually, because that could be our internal Team India
we
biryani
have
wars. Forget
KLR
about.
who's Lucknow captain though.
Yeah, that's not the same thing. He's from the south,
Probably
bro.
vegetarian, poor
Yeah, he's a
guy.
Brahmin from the south, and you're saying biryani. He'll talk about. All right, I refuse to accept paneer biryani is a real thing. It has. If you're eating it, it's got to be the legit.
Yeah. But I'm waiting for that, the
That'll,
biryani war. I think we should just reclassify the
should
India
Star
Pakistan
Sports
game
call
as
it that?
yeah,
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 biryani wars.
yeah. Let's do it.
Hashtag biryani wars.
Now I want to eat biryani.
Yeah, dude, same. I unfortunately don't get any good biryani in my town. So, all right, let's move on. The third out of the four matches we'll cover.
Sorry, someone is on the awesome Pavan said, isn't Virat from Chennai? Okay, I've really lost chain of thought after that YouTube comment.
Virat Kohli. Neither
I don't
does he
know.
play for CSK, nor is he. I mean, he's the definition almost of a Delhi boy.
Yeah.
Like there's
The
no.
awesome Pavan, if you want to clarify that moment, that question, isn't Virat from Chennai? You can do that in the YouTube comment. We should probably
I
move
mean,
on.
listen. If saying something contentious gets you to get your comment read out on the show, then that's it worked. All right. From there, Dharamshala, not the most kind of exciting game, if you will. Afghanistan, 156 all out. Shakib just keeps showing up. I mean, you called him as your X factor in the preview,
Yeah.
which
And
which
we've
by the way,
also, Varun and I have decided that we have to define what we mean by X Factor properly.
yeah, I
Because
was going to
I
say
think
it's
for
not
you,
that he
yeah.
didn't do well. It's not that he didn't do well. For me, it's just that he's expected to do well. So it's not really
Yes. And for us, it's the guy who's going to win you the game. I
yeah. So
think
of course,
our
Shakib,
X Factor definition after 294 episodes needs to be aligned. Because
five
you're
World
like, we
Cup
don't expect this
previews.
guy to win.
Yeah, seriously.
You
No,
don't expect him
I
to take wickets or score runs, and we're like, but this guy's going to win you the game, so he's the X Factor.
yeah, but it's like calling Virat Kohli the X Factor. He's not. He's not because he's your. Anyway, I get it.
But I think you mean the
Let's.
dark horse, like the guy you don't expect is going to do anything. The uncapped player type of
Yeah.
aspect, right? Like maybe we need to do some definitional work for our
All right.
podcast,
Let's
not
be
just show
corporate and
up and
take the.
talk like we
Yeah, let's
do.
be corporate and take this one offline. We'll take the
Yeah,
follow up offline and
yeah,
come back and make sure our
we,
next previews are a little bit better done. But
yeah.
yeah, man, 3 wickets
Hot
in his 8
shower.
overs, 156 all out, and then good chase. Mehdi Hassan Miraz 57, Shanto makes 59. I mean, pretty clinical. 34 overs to chase down 158. Not a lot to write home about. The Afghanistan side will be disappointed, right? Coming out of a pretty good Asia Cup, will be disappointed that they weren't able to put up a bigger fight against Bangladesh because now, of course, they have India next, then they'll play Australia, England, etc. So Bangladesh were probably points Afghanistan was hoping to pick up. So, all right. And then we talked about this briefly, but they went back to what is our hometown, the newly renovated Arun Jaitley Stadium, by the way. Have you seen some of the pictures? The Delhi Stadium looks nice,
No, it's
man.
also obviously got a new name from when we used to live there, which is the Feroz Shah Kotla. But yeah, it's our Jaitley
Yeah,
Stadium.
yeah, yeah. So, new name. Let's talk about what actually Varun and I called them in our semifinal predictions. You didn't. And I specifically shouted out how excited I am for this absolutely rock star middle order of, uh, let's call it three is not a middle order. Assi Van der Dusen's top order, but Markram, Klassen, Miller as 4, 5, 6. I think maybe the best in this entire 10-team World Cup. And
We've just had our 4, 5, 6, like our 3, 5, and 6 do
you
well for
you
us.
can't say on paper Rahul, Iyer, and Hardik is stronger than Markram, Klassen, Miller. I think when you add in when you add in Virat, Rohit, and Gill, I would say with the top six it can contend.
Mm,
But dude, Markram at 4, Klassen at 5, Miller at 6 is just to me
power
an
packed,
outstanding
maybe power
power
packed,
pack,
more
just so
power.
power
Yeah,
packed.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. Fourth time in history, a lot of stats coming out this World Cup. Fourth time in history that 3 batters have made a century. 3 of those times has been South Africa. This being the third, right? I mean, and one was England, I think, when they made 498 or whatever that insane total was. But yeah, dude, let's talk about that. Quinton de Kock has already announced retirement from ODI. He's made a century. Rassie van der Dusen made another century. And then Aiden Markram gave it in, made a 49 ball century, I think it was. It what do you say? They just,
The
Sri Lanka had
fastest
nothing.
century in
World
World Cup
Cups.
history, beating
Yeah.
Kevin O'Brien. I know. I mean, Sri Lanka didn't have Theekshana, right? Like, so I don't want it to sound too bad, but they really just went the distance, and Markram
Yeah.
just smashed it everywhere. I mean, QDK started life with 100.
Yeah.
What? And then this guy like follows it up, and you're like just sitting there going, "This is just 400 in a World Cup." I mean, India scored 400 in a World Cup against Bermuda. This is not the same thing.
Yeah.
That was a Dwayne Leverock catch match, but it was quite big. Uh, it was quite big hitting, and I think it was the first
You got
time.
distracted because you said Dwayne Leverock and then you said big and then your brain stopped
Yeah,
processing.
I was still thinking of the catch, but
The catch was so good. Can we post a link to it on YouTube in our show notes? Just because
yeah,
it's
Dwayne
so good.
Leverock's son is now playing cricket. By the way, he
Yeah.
took like an incredible diving catch forward,
Did
like
he really?
forward diving catch, and it wasn't
Nice. Nice.
as big a wicket as the last one was. But what was I saying? So no, Sri Lanka apparently lost by over 100 runs, and they're the first team in um in cricket history or ODI history to lose by that much after scoring over 300 runs.
Oh, that's a good stat too. All the
Yeah,
stats coming out for this one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, see, South Africa have done it against Sri Lanka, but we bowled Sri Lanka out for 50. So I don't know. It's tough to take that too seriously at this point. Let
Yeah.
them do it against. Well, they did against South Africa, Australia pretty recently as well. So
Yeah. I was going to say, I give credit to the South African batters. And then
yeah,
also, by the way, full credit to the Sri Lankans who were 1 for 1 with, again, my fantasy team pick, Pathum Nisanka getting
oh,
out for
you,
duck.
yeah, you've got three in a row, right?
3 in a row because I had Nisanka, Rohit, and Mitch Marsh. Or
But yeah,
Mitch Marsh and Rohit in that order. But But yeah, and then Kusal Mendes came out of nowhere, just chose to go on the attack because I think he said, listen, even if we're going to lose, we have to get as many as we can to minimize run rate damage. Asalanka then made 79. The skipper Shanaka batted very slow to start, which is another interesting question mark, where he was sort of trying to bat himself back into form and or just play as many overs as he could. But they batted 44 and a half overs before eventually getting out. DJ, one quick question here. Talk to me about Gerald Coetzee, if you know anything about him much. Because I'm looking at the South Africa, that face tells a lot. I'm looking at the South Africa bowling lineup and I see Marco Jansen, Kagiso Rabada, Lungi Ngidi. All names we know, all have been around for a while. And then, of course, you see Keshav Maharaj bowl 10 overs as a spinner. And then you see this 23-year-old, Gerald Coates is his name. He's played 2 tests, 7 ODIs, and 3 T20s. Right? Super new to the scene. I mean, he has a total of 14 ODI wickets, 3 of which happened this past game. But just looks, I mean, he's quick, he's 6'3", just looks like a phenomenal new addition to the South African bowling lineup. So how good is that to see Aussies, not Aussies, South Africans show up with 4 quicks and one new guy who picked up 3 outstanding wickets? Pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, they haven't been a serious contender for a long time. 2015 was probably the last time they were, and they lost in the semi-final against New Zealand. Um, Probably time. I mean, they were the last team to qualify for the World Cup, Ashwin.
Mm-hmm.
They had to come through the qualifiers. Sorry, not the qualifiers, but they were they got automatic qualification, but they kind of sneaked
Mm-hmm.
through as I think some
Mm-hmm.
match in Ireland got rained out. Some like they had to do some rigmarole to get here. But yeah, I mean it's good for South African cricket to be um, being talked about as a top 4 contender. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've showed why. It's now
Absolutely.
to be seen whether they can be consistent in a tournament uh, and do that. They only won 3 games in 2019 with the likes of Faf and others.
Mm-hmm.
They won 5 games, I think, in the 2021 T20 World Cup and just missed out on qualification under Temba. So, but yeah, I mean, it's good. Let's see how it goes. Let's
Yeah.
see how it goes. A lot of
So
bases covered for the Saffers.
yeah, and so they probably have one of the biggest games of the week coming up, and I'm talking about Australia versus South Africa. on Thursday, the 12th. South Africa coming off of a big win, looking good. Australia needing some points under their belt because if they go 0 for 2, it becomes very difficult to start digging out of the hole. I mean, DJ, just to run down what's coming up next, right? New Zealand play Netherlands. You expect them to take that. Tuesday, double header. England, you expect to take Bangladesh and get their first points on the board. But
Yep.
that, again, Shakib shows up and threatens England. Again, will be very difficult for England to dig out of losing their first two in a row. Pakistan plays Sri Lanka. Probably back Pakistan to take that based on Sri Lanka's form,
Yep.
but that could be closer. India, Afghanistan at Delhi. Then, like I said, probably the closest match of the week going to be Australia, South Africa on Thursday. And that's at Lucknow. So maybe they'll eat biryani the night before. You can bet David
So,
Warner
so
probably
on
will.
that game, who are you
Yeah.
going? Who are you backing? Did you think Zampa showed enough today? Did he look off color to you, or did KL just play him really well? Like
Yeah, I
KL
mean,
just
there's an
cut him for four
element
all the time.
of the fact that Zampa got brought in a little bit late, and I think KL
Mm.
played him magnificently, absolutely magnificently. I don't rate Zampa that highly, to be honest. And I think the fact that the Aussies, do you see Nathan Lyon, by the way, tweeted or the post that he said, I called whoever Andrew McDonald and said, I'm available, by the way, if you need me. It's like, dude, can you imagine if Gaza came and played his first ODI
Just
in however long? I don't know when the last time Nathan Lyon played an ODI.
wow. Okay.
So
Yeah, but you're not going to win a World Cup in India, I think, without decent
without
spinners.
spin, yeah. So anyway, big match there. I think what else is next? I think you have
What's on
New Zealand
Friday?
should play Bangladesh, and then of course we get to Saturday. India Pakistan is going to be the big one before
The
racking up
biryani battle,
the biryani wars, biryani
Karachi
battle.
versus Hyderabad.
DJ, any upsets you predicting for this week? You think Bangladesh versus England, Afghanistan, India,
No,
Bangladesh, New
I
Zealand? Nothing really. It's
I
going to be pretty
I
straightforward.
think Pakistan Sri Lanka might be
Hmm.
an interesting game because Sri Lanka, remember, did beat Pakistan in the
Mm-hmm.
Asia Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and they are without Naseem. Uh, what else? The others seem to be New South Africa, Australia,
I
tight
think that's
game,
going to be the big one. Yeah,
but they've just played each other in a 5-match series, which
but
Australia
went
won
two,
2, and then
three,
then
right?
then
Yeah,
South Africa won 3
yeah.
on in a row. So
So if you're
maybe
South
Australia
Africa, if you're
they are on
Australia,
a downward curve
yeah,
at the
you
moment.
lost three in a row
Australia.
against South Africa. You lost two against India before winning the consolation, and then you lost pretty big against India, despite getting
Yeah.
them 2 for 3. It's gonna be tough times in that Aussie dressing room right now.
Mm, mm,
I
yeah.
think that brings us to a wrap. Big first week, man. Crazy to think one set of matches are already in the books, and at the same time, the fact that this World Cup goes to November 19th with matches basically every day is pretty amazing. So we got a lot of cricket ahead of us. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about fantasy because it's so early and there's a lot of swings. I mean, the
And
person
both
leading
of
our
us are
edges
in the
and
bottom
sledges
half of
fan
the
league,
table.
yeah,
So yeah.
is Baja by Bus, which is a fantastic team name, in first place. But I think played like 8 guys each of yesterday and today. So just choosing the strategy of using subs heavy up front. I will give a shout out to Varun, who has had a really good couple of days. Played his wicketkeeper booster in the first match of the tournament with Tom Latham, Devon Conway as captain. So you got 4x Devon Conway,
Oh, nice, bro.
Johnny Bairstow, and Joss Butler. That's a good match to play
Yeah.
your wicketkeeper booster. And I'm sitting down, I think, in 23rd out of 35, 22nd out of 35. You're even worse than me in 31st.
But I haven't
So,
done any changes because I've been traveling for the last 4 days.
and you're still pretty
So
close to me. So that tells you how
yeah,
bad I have been, right?
that's pretty
Yeah.
hard.
That brings
Okay.
us to a
Anyway,
wrap.
long way to go. Long way
Long
to
way to
go.
go, long tournament. Thank you all for listening. If you're on YouTube, still hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, send us a review, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as always, at One Tip One Hand. We love bringing this to you. The World Cup is alive and kicking. We will be back definitely next week. If we can, we might try to do a midweek wrap up of the India Afghanistan game, depending on how that's going. But as always, send us any of your questions, comments. We will be back next week and look forward to hearing from you all. This has been the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.